This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. I had the best words. Tolerate it. I know words. Mike Pounds. I hope they now go and take a look at the oranges of the investigation. But there's no better word than stupid. Anonymous, really anonymous. I'm very highly educated. One of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Had the best words. God bless the United States.
There's insanity in the control room.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's Monday, new week. So hopefully you all had a good weekend, lovely weekend. For me, let's just start it off, right? Let's just kick it off. A little disappointed. I'm very disappointed in the discourse. So I just gotta let you know, the discourse is shit. It's all garbage. And I am talking about lefty Twitter, which currently continues to implode over ridiculous stuff. I'm sure, again, some of you who have been watching the Twitter discourse, let's just say it's been depressing. So I'm kind of depressed today. But, the show will be good. Although I do have a segment where some of you will probably hate me. And so that will add to the discourse because I've got some opinions. In fact, we have a pro-Trump firm that was caught infiltrating the left. We'll talk about that today. That is some shit. And they were using, of course, advertisements towards the Green Party to try to divide the left. So a lot of you are probably going to hate my discourse on the Green Party involved in this one. And so, hey, I'm just letting you know ahead of time, you're going to fucking hate me. So, but I got to say it. It's my show. I got opinions. Jeff has opinions. I have opinions. Sometimes they're strong opinions. We're going to do that. So that's fun. But we have, of course, we're going to talk about reality winner. So there's a good story. So we actually got some good news to start the show off. We got companies, PRIDEWASHING, fun. Lara Trump wants to shoot immigrants. Great. And then Mitch McConnell back to his old tricks. So fun times. Should be a fun day. Also, I feel like crap. So that's going to be an added bonus into this stream. Where right now I don't care. I feel like shit, so we're gonna power through it. Let's just say that. All right. Hey, before I get into it, please like and share the stream. Very helpful if you do. Have I heard about the Rockton chemical fire? I have not. I apologize. So I've been trying to stay off social media as much as I could this weekend because of the discourse, and also because my mental health seems to be so much better when I don't get on the Twitters all the time, because it is such a goddamn dumpster fire. But hey, important stuff happened. I'll look into it. The Rockton chemical fire. A lot of stuff that happened over the weekend as well. A lot of stuff that's happened, everywhere, basically. And I'm gonna talk about some of it. So we'll get into it. All right. Hey, Granny Dragon, thank you for subscribing. Another subscription at tier 1. Thank you. I appreciate that. 8 months. Damn, it's been that long? Wow. I was surprised. My Twitch channel is over 8 months now. Holy crap. That's crazy. No fatalities, but evacuated communities. Well, I'm glad that nobody was killed, but it's what it is. It's a bummer. Super, super sad to hear. Well, glad everybody's okay. All right, well, let's move on. Let's start out with some good news. Hey. NSA leaker and whistleblower reality winner has been released from federal prison. Great. So now Winner is a former national security agency contractor who pled guilty to leaking classified information. So she leaked classified information to The Intercept about Russian interference in the 2016 election. So now her lawyer, Allison Grinter Allen, tweeted this on Monday. I'm thrilled to announce that Reality Winner has been released from prison. She's still in custody in the residential reentry process, but we are relieved and hopeful. So basically, she's in a halfway house right now and will be fully released fairly soon. In August of 2018, a federal court sentenced Winner to 63 months in prison for leaking to The Intercept a classified NSA document about the Russian government's efforts to interfere with the 2016 elections. Why The Intercept gave up the source, I have no idea. I will never understand. This is, I think, when it was headed by Glenn Greenwald, who has been very, let's just say he's been very anti-Russia gate narrative. So for me, I feel like this is some sort of weird, reflexive, anti-Russia gate posturing. But that's what I feel like, which I think is ridiculous. Like the conversation, understand the conversation over 2016 and Russia is unhinged and toxic. And I'm pointing at both sides here, okay? For one, you've got Rachel Maddow and the DNC that blame basically everything terrible that's ever happened since 2016 on Russia. Oh, I got to hang that. Oh, it must be Russia. Goddamn Russians. Goddamn Putin. And then, on the other side, you have a complete and utter refusal to admit that Russia has done anything wrong. Like, that they... Okay, so as I've said before, every time I talk about this, and I try to get into the nuance because nobody seems to understand nuance whatsoever when it comes to anything related with Russia. And you realize that every country, to an extent, and America, for the most extent, has interfered in other elections, in other countries' elections. Now, of course, look, America has used way worse means than trolls, bot farms to influence elections. Understand that we have overthrown other countries' leaders with the CIA and installed dictators in their place. So it's not like we really have a whole lot of room to talk, but at the same time, you also have to admit the reality that, yes, Russia in their limited capacity, using the internet, using Facebook, using ads, did try to influence the 2016 election. That of course, is not a justification for, now we shall go bomb Russia. No, that's a fucking ridiculous position. And this is why I can't stand the discourse on this, because, again, it is super unhinged. If you say, like, hey, maybe Russia shouldn't interfere in our elections like that, you immediately get accused of wanting to bomb Russia, which is an incredibly ridiculous position. Okay? And something that nobody is saying, unless you're talking about some of the most adherent MSNBC diehard neocons. Other than that, nobody who's really looking at the situation can say that. And also, again, with the MSNBC crowd, going back to I got a hangnail and it's Russia and Putin's fault, along with the weird homophobic stuff between Putin and Trump. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous stuff. Ridiculous stuff. Okay, what we're talking about is basically bots and troll farms putting out disinformation to try to influence people to not vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and in the most recent election, Biden. So there it is. And how successful that really was, I mean, really, the results kind of speaks for themselves in a certain way. I've said before, Hillary Clinton's, and I can't believe I have to keep going over this over and over again, but Hillary Clinton's death, her campaign died the death of 1,000 cuts. Russia, disinformation being one of those. Whereas Joe Biden won because of Donald Trump's reaction to coronavirus. And so all of that, understand that the discourse around this subject, around Russiagate, is unhinged. And everybody just needs to calm down and start to understand fucking nuance. Okay? And that's it. Please, for the love of God, nuance. I am so sick of dumbass reactionary takes from everybody. Everybody is pissing me off when it comes to this subject. I am fucking tired of it. It is so ridiculous and so goddamn dumb. And it is unproductive. Unproductive. We look like raging fucking lunatics right now. And when it comes to the discourse on Russia, everybody needs to shut the fuck up. Okay, I'm a little upset. Okay, I feel like a raging lunatic right now. When I'm just trying to understand, I'm just trying to say, we need some goddamn nuance when we're talking about the situation. All right. Now, look, this was supposed to be a good story about Reality Winner. I'm really happy. I'm glad that she is out of prison. I'm glad, and understand, like, Winner was somebody who got caught in the middle of this entire situation, entire thing, and her and Assange. By the way, look, Assange. I know a lot of people got problems with Assange. I get it, right? But the thing that he was being charged or held with had nothing to do with what the United States actually wanted to extradite him for. I think the guy spent almost 10 years in an embassy. Yeah, enough. Okay, enough. Let the guy go. Whistleblower. Journalist. All right? So, anyway. Let's note, by the way, that she was not pardoned. She wasn't pardoned. She deserves a pardon, but she wasn't pardoned. Okay? And that's the other thing. Now, Donald Trump used her, by the way, to go after his enemies. In fact, during his administration, he tweeted, ex-contractor to spend 63 months in jail over classified information. Gee, this is a small potatoes compared to what Hillary Clinton did. So unfair, Jeff. Double standard. Referring, of course, to Jeff Sessions, not at me personally. I'm just saying. Hey, guess what? Guess who could have rectified that situation in letting her go? If you thought it was so ridiculous, if you thought it was small potatoes, well, why didn't you just pardon her? You had the power to do so. You were president of the United States. You could have said, guess what? I don't believe that the Obama administration, in their use of the Espionage Act to go after American, I don't like that. To going after whistleblowers, I don't like that at all. In fact, what I'm gonna free Reality Winner. I'm gonna pardon her. But guess what he did? He pardoned grifters. He pardoned Steve fucking Bannon. No, all he cared about is attacking someone else. Didn't give a damn. And by the way, neither is Joe Biden, because again, Joe Biden is part of the camp that is absolutely 100% okay with using the Espionage Act to go against whistleblowers. Just like the Obama administration, just like the Bush administration, It's like all of these administrations that love to use the Espionage Act to go after whistleblowers who actually expose the wrongdoings that our government is doing under any administration, Democrat and Republican. It's bullshit. It's total and complete garbage. So, no, Biden could have pardoned her day one, but he didn't. So nobody gets any credit for her freedom. They stole months of her life. A long time. So I am glad, though, that she actually did end up getting years of her life. Years of her life. Now I hope that she is able to transition back to freedom. You know, and again, if we had a president that actually cared about transparency, yeah, imagine that, right? And cared about the truth, then yes, they would pardon Reality Winner. And you know what? Pardon Snowden, pardon Assange as well. Let him go already. Let him go. Whistleblowers, we need to protect whistleblowers. And we need to protect journalistic organizations, even if you disagree with their findings. In fact, sometimes especially if you disagree with their findings if you're the U.S. government. Because that foundational freedom of the press is a part of what our nation needs to be. It's all about trying to hold people accountable, and especially those in the government who are in power. And we do not do that enough. And we need to do more. We need to protect these whistleblowers. All right. Can you tell I'm a little angry? Yeah. All right. More anger. If you've been following some of the lefty discourse online, you might have noticed that it's been a complete and utter dumpster fire. Now, one reason, of course, is that kind of always is. Let's be honest. The left, by nature, is pretty large, varied, and very fractious, with many different ideas on how to get to the best outcome for not only the people in the United States, but also the world at large. I mean, one of the things that, for example, Michael Brooks really like to look at is how do we do a global working class movement and build solidarity for leftist movements, not just in the United States, but all over the world. Now, one of the problems is the left in the United States, anyway, really can't work together very well. And one reason has to do with infiltration of leftist spaces with the right wing, or by the right wing. So now, an investigation by The Guardian has revealed a pro-Trump group running ads in favor of Green Party candidates in certain elections in certain places that happen to be very close in order to allow for a right-wing candidate to get the edge. And so now a digital marketing firm, according to The Guardian, closely linked to a pro-Trump youth group, Turning Point USA, that's the Charlie Kirk group, was responsible for a series of deceptive Facebook ads promoting Green Party candidates during the 2018 midterm election. Now, in an apparent attempt to split the Democratic vote in a number of close races, Turning Point USA ran these ads that were purported to come from an organization called America Progress Now. All right. In an apparent attempt to split Democratic votes in a number of close races, these ads were purported to come from an organization called America Progress Now and used socialist memes and rhetoric to urge left-wing voters to support Green Party candidates. I want to show you a couple of those ads because I think it's really important to see the kind of stuff that they are putting up here. All right. So now that's a couple of the ads. Now I look at those and I'm like, especially, the one on the left, the Drake meme. I'm like, yeah, it's based. All right, I like it. Right. Late stage capitalism casting a shadow on the future of our children. Stop the wars. Agreed. End capitalism. Okay. Invest in our children. Wonderful. Wonderful. Sure. All right. So now, I have no issues personally with going outside of the Democratic Party in order to push the conversation left. I think that the Democratic Party needs an outside force to push it to the left. I do. And it needs to be, I think, a pretty powerful outside force, which unfortunately doesn't exist in this country yet. And as far as the inside, understand that right now, the system is so unbelievably stacked against third parties that voting for them in national elections ends up in many cases, unfortunately, doing the opposite of what you want, and you end up getting a right winger. Again, at the state level, let me point out that at the state level, it's actually much different. Green and third party members actually have a pretty good chance at taking over state and local legislatures in blue states and turning them more progressive. We could use something like that, for example, in New York. Green Party takeover, because right now New York has the ability to be the first in the country to go and actually adopt a single payer system. The only problem is corporate Democrats. Imagine if you replace those with Green Party members or leftist groups, leftist candidates. Then you might actually have that situation, and that could lead to, again, hypothetical, but that could lead to maybe a better national conversation on Medicare for all, which would be great, So now I am in favor of that, definitely. And of course, it really does vary, depending on your state and your localities. For example, Seattle with Kshama Sawant, she's an open socialist. Fantastic. Wonderful. You can have Green Party wins in places, and I really think that Green Party or whatever outside party that you want that is a leftist organization or a leftist party or a leftist candidate should really start doing these local races. I think those are really, really important. You take over at the local level, and then you build upward. It starts at the bottom, folks. It does not start at the top. So now, in places, however, where the right wing has a good chance of winning, an upstart Democrat does need every vote that they can get. Where the Greens, in those situations, the Green can end up actually being more of a hindrance and doing more harm than good. And we've all seen situations like this, which is why right-wing groups are smart enough to realize that they can capitalize on this. And so they will run ads, and there's nothing preventing them from doing so, at least when it comes to legality. There's nothing preventing them from pretending to be a progressive organization and running ads on behalf of Green Party candidates, who, by the way, in many cases, again, they're just running because they're running on what they believe. There's nothing wrong with these candidates. There's nothing wrong with them running in these races. But they are getting boosted by right-wing groups, by right-wingers with corporate giant, corporate money. And so understand that that is the situation that is happening right now. And of course, we know that they're able to do this because there is a lot of anger at the Democratic establishment right now. The Democratic Party, the duopoly, there's so much anger there. And right-wingers have, of course, capitalized on this in order to help some of their extremist candidates get the edge. Everybody who watches this show on the regular knows I have no love for the Democratic establishment. But I would, and this is where some of you might disagree with me, I'd rather have a lib in some of those important national seats than a member of the far right who would most certainly mount an assault on trans rights or whatever social issue flavor of the day they use to get into power. I'm sorry, but again, I'm going to vote for harm reduction to the most that I can. So now back to the thing is, right? So how did this happen? Well, according to The Guardian, Facebook was aware of the true identity of the advertiser. This is a group called Rally Forge. It's a conservative marketing firm. And now they were running these deceptive ads, and Facebook knew it. But the company said, well, look, you didn't actually break any rules. You didn't actually violate any of our policies. Rally Forge would then go up to set up a pro-Trump domestic troll farm in 2020. This is after 2016, where they had, of course, favored Green Party candidates, and then set up a troll farm for Turning Point Action, a sister organization of Turning Point USA, earning a permanent ban from Facebook. Not Turning Point USA, but Turning Point Action and Rally Forge banned from Facebook. Now, Sophie Zhang, a former Facebook employee and whistleblower, said, quote, there were no policies at Facebook against pretending to be a group that did not exist, an abuse vector that has been used by the governments of Honduras and Azerbaijan. She added, the fact that Rally Forge later on went on to conduct coordinated and authentic behavior with troll farms reminiscent of Russia should be taken as an indication that Facebook's leniency led to more risk-taking behavior. Now, Facebook says, well, no, nobody violated our policies, technically. And then the FEC also claimed that it didn't violate any laws either. Despite the fact that APN and its ad appeared to violate federal laws that require independent expenditures to be filed with the FEC and include proper disclosures on advertisement, as ProPublica and Vice News reported in 2018. Of course, they didn't do anything. Right now, the FEC is pretty feckless. They can't do anything. They won't do anything. They are evenly split. Republicans and Democrats. Republicans don't want to do a goddamn thing about federal election expenditures. They think that, well, we've got all the money on our side. We got all the corporations on our side. For the most part, we got all the billionaires, or most of them. Yes, we want their money to flood elections. And so, no, we don't want people at the FEC to do really anything unless, of course, it's those same corporations now that are becoming too woke. Yeah, that we have a problem with. That we have a problem with. Sure. Now, this led, of course, to the nonpartisan campaign finance watchdog group, Campaign Legal Center, filing a complaint against APN and then suing the agency in an attempt to force it to investigate the group. But in July of 2020, the FEC voted to dismiss allegations that America Progress Now had violated federal law after an individual, Evan Mulstein, took responsibility for the ads and attributed the lack of proper disclosures and filings to his, quote, inexperience. I didn't know what I was doing. Don't punish me, please. Yes, we impersonated a progressive group, and yes, we funded ads to try to, beat Democratic candidates, but by pretending to be progressive and in favor of Green Party candidates who had no idea that we were helping them or trying to derail them and derail any kind of progress. Oops, had no idea. Inexperience. Right. Bullshit. Nobody believes that. And again, this is technically against the law. It is illegal to knowingly make false or fraudulent statements to federal agencies, and the FEC appears to have taken Mulstein at his word that the ads were a sincere but novice attempt to support Green Party candidates. No, this is an AstroTurf group. Again, using Green Party candidates who didn't know that they were getting boosted by these people to divide the left. A cynical attempt to influence voters. In fact, a former FEC commissioner Unravel, who reviewed the case to request The Guardian, called this a stunning case and said that she would refer it to the Justice Department. Quote, it seems as if it's clear fraud, noting that the FEC General Counsel's office appeared to have been misled by Mulstein. The requirement for the Justice Department to take on on an electoral matter is that it be serious and willful, and clearly in this case, it was willful, in my opinion. Brendan Fisher, Director of Federal Reform at the CLC, said this is an example of why disclosure is so important in elections. Swing state voters who saw America Progress Now ads promoting Green Party candidates would have had no idea they were the handiwork of Republican political operatives. The FCC's job is to enforce the transparency laws and protect voters' right to know who is trying to influence them, but the agency here failed to conduct even a minimal investigation. If they had, they would find that these pages were administered by 3 different individuals. These individuals have, again, ties with right-wing groups. Jake Hoffman, Connor Clegg, and Colton Duncan. They administer this so-called progressive page, but also are administrators for Turning Point USA. Hoffman and Clegg were also administrators to Charlie Kirk's Charlie Kirk's Facebook page. Great. These admins are connected to Turning Point USA. One staffer from the Civic Integrity team said, according to internal task management documents seen by The Guardian, this is very inauthentic. I don't know what the policy here is, but this seems very sketchy. Another staffer named Riley Forge as being responsible for the ads. APN itself had spent nearly $5,000 to have the ads shown to users nearly 300,000 times. Riley Forge was, by the way, created in 2016 as a pro-Trump super PAC founded and run by Hoffman, an Arizona Republican who was at the time a member of the town council in Queen Creek, Arizona. In November 2020, Hoffman was elected to serve in the Arizona state legislature as, of course, a Republican. And since 2017, Riley Forge has been Turning Point USA's highest compensated independent contractor, paid more than $1.1 million over 2 years, according to the nonprofit's public filings. Turning Point Action, affiliated organization also founded by Charlie Kirk, paid Riley Forge $700,000 for work supporting Trump and opposing Biden during the 2020 presidential election, and an additional $400,000 for work on the U.S. Senate runoff races in Georgia. In addition to America Progress Now and Turning Point USA, Hoffman, Clegg, and Duncan also served as administrators for a number of other right-wing Facebook pages. The trio each maintained 2 accounts to administer their Facebook pages, one using their full names and one using their first and middle initials, a violation of Facebook's own policy that each user can only have 1 Facebook account. One of each of the 3 men's accounts had been authorized by Facebook to run political ads, a process that requires submitting a government ID to Facebook for verification. One of Hoffman's accounts had spent approximately $650,000 to run Facebook ads on behalf of 40 different pages, including the official page of Donald J. Trump Jr. So, same people supporting the so-called progressive page that was running ads on behalf of Green Party candidates. And Facebook did nothing about it. They determined that the ads did not violate existing company policy related to political ads, though they did decide to deactivate the 3 men's additional accounts while allowing them to keep their original. And they waited till after the elections were over with and provided them with advanced notice. Seeming to be very preferential treatment towards these conservatives. Now, that made some staffers at Facebook actually pretty uncomfortable, and they spoke to The Guardian about this. One said, "What I find very problematic is the intention here is to clearly mislead users. The users in question clearly created a new FB page to hide their identity, which would be the grounds for removal on most surfaces." Another product manager produced an internal postmortem of the incident, which she described as a crystal clear example of astroturfing, deceptive campaign tactics designed to appear as grassroots actions, as well as playing both sides, and political ad opacity, since users cannot see who they are. Furthermore, I could see making a case for voter suppression. Another one said, unfortunately, it turned out that there's nothing we could do against these ads. We ended up only aiming to remove a few duplicate accounts under the fake account policy, but only after proper notice, and I believe we have not removed them yet. So, okay, they didn't really do a whole lot to stop these guys. And So, unsurprisingly, after 2016, 2018, they started right back up again for 2020. Rally Forge actually had reactivated its Facebook pages and accounts in June 2020, and it established what is considered to be a domestic troll farm in Phoenix that employed teens to churn out pro-Trump social media posts, some of which, of course, supported the big lie. Oh, the election integrity, the election stolen. Stolen. Because, of course. Look, I know, it really isn't shocking. Now, a spokesman for Turning Point USA says, oh, no, it wasn't a troll farm. No, we were just paying teenagers to put up pro-Trump content because they like Trump. Yay. Now, Facebook also did not take any enforcement action against Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action, or Charlie Kirk with regard to the Phoenix operation. Facebook also did not disclose Rally Forge's connection to America Progress Now and the deceptive Green Party ads. So understand, though, that nobody really faced any sort of actual consequences for this. Just nothing. Nothing. For this, what is actually a sophisticated, well-funded, multi-pronged operation. For one, you obviously boost your presence on Facebook by running all these ads with all the resources that you have, inundating people with ads and videos and in a lot of cases false information. And then you also come at it from the left and you say, well, don't vote for Democrats, vote for Green Party members because they're more progressive and you like that. Well, of course we like it. Well, the problem is, in a lot of cases, it ends up being a spoiler. Without massive reforms to the system, it's a spoiler. As much as you want to deny it, as much as you hate it, you know it's true. And that's the unfortunate thing about our system. This isn't about the Green Party, isn't about candidates themselves. A lot of the candidates I really like. A lot of the candidates that are third party, I like. I want to support them. I like the stuff that they're in favor of. But the problem here is it's the system. It's down to numbers. It's down to electoralism, which right now you've seen what's happening. You can't really afford to lose any seats when it comes to, at least in my opinion, voting on principle. The cold hard facts, the more seats that you have, filled by people who align, more with you on policy, the better. And it would be great if we actually had more politicians that supported us on policy and actually showed that they support us on policy when we put those in those positions. That'd be great. The more left-leaning Democrats you have, the better you can actually counteract the Joe Manchins of the world. This is why I say primaries. Progressives. Get to those primaries, win. Then you don't have to worry about spoiler votes. You don't have to worry about Joe Manchin. You don't have to worry about any of this. It's garbage. And that's how it works. And as much as we rage about the duopoly, rage isn't going to change anything. It really isn't. Strategy does. Long-term infiltration tends to work. We have to be smarter than the right. And this is our problem. We have to be smarter than the right wing. We have to be smarter than the center if we want to actually advance to the left. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I can see it already. But understand that what are you doing right now that works? I don't see a whole lot other than rage. Rage doesn't win elections. Action does. Putting in the work does. And sometimes understand that you might have to vote for people you might not like in order to do some level of harm reduction. If you can't handle that in the reality of the situation, that we are both outnumbered and outgunned in every sense of the word, and that we need to think and act strategically, then you might not be adult enough to be in the world of politics. You might want to reconsider. It's not just about virtue signaling votes that makes you feel good. It's really, politics is a dirty game. It is only about one thing, power. How you can attain it, what you can do with it. Without power, the left has nothing. So let's get the power. Sad. Cancel me now, please. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. Come back. We got more stories. Stay right here.
Big, massive dumps. Dumps.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
All right. Welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here. Waldorf Nation. So, super chat here. Where Are You Prior? It says simple solution, ranked choice voting. We got to do something. But yeah, no, I agree with the different actual solutions that we can have. Ravaging Wolverine says this is what two-party system does. They can gatekeep. We got to get past the gatekeeping. And of course, that's the reason they put up the gates. Like why we have two different parties that gatekeep the most in their primaries and then complain when a lot of people, like 40% of the country, doesn't want to vote. But you didn't involve us in the primary process. You fought to keep us out. Why should we vote to you now? Why should we vote for you now? And again, the issue here is, though, it's the systemic problem. Obviously, we should vote for harm reduction. In my case, because we do see the harm that a conservative Supreme Court does, that these judicial courts do. And that, you have the situation where you get the most corporate centrist Democrats in there that completely block any and all, even a modest looking forward agenda gets shut down. So all of this is just, it needs to be changed. There has to be fundamental change. And of course, we're not going to get it. We're not going to get it if we wait for a politician to do it. We have to get it ourselves. We have to change. We just have to get it to change. It can't continue like this. Anyway. What if harm reduction still blows up the planet? It's a pretty bad hypothetical, man. Seriously, yes, we do have a situation where you have one side that, no, we don't believe in climate change. We're going to just push the gas. The other side is, well, we should probably do something by like 2050. Well, that's still a long time, and we need to do something now. It's not great. This is not a great choice. Let's get better choices. Let's get much better choices. And that's the whole point, where we need change. We you know what? On the left, we are the most cynical motherfuckers you could imagine. We really are. We are so goddamn doom pilled. And you know why? It's because we know too much. We know too much, and we see very little happening. I try to not be doom pilled. I do my best, but sometimes it gets to me too, and I know it gets to all of you as well. Miss Vernon. Yeah, I was mentioning earlier on Twitter how I miss the era of Not Me Us, where we actually had some hope and a little bit of unity together, and now we have just fallen apart. All right. Anyway, speaking of doom, we have corporations. Turns out they're not your friend. I know, shocker. It's Pride Month. And so, of course, you have every single corporation on the planet, or at least in the United States, trying to appeal for those gay bucks. Yes, because it turns out from money from LGBTQIA plus people spends just as well as money held by the straights, such as myself. But do not be fooled. These companies are not woke. They are still funding politicians that are actually making life hell for people in that community. On Monday, writing for the blog popular.info, Jed Legum talked about 25 different corporations who have pride-washed their social media and public relations with rainbow flags. Yes, you've seen it all before, but on the side have donated at least $10 million to anti-gay politicians within the last 2 years. Yes. A popular information web investigation found that 25 major corporations spent more than $10 million since 2019 supporting members of Congress with a 0 rating and the latest congressional scorecard produced by the Human Rights Campaign, the most prominent LGBTQ rights organization in the United States, wrote Legum. These same corporations have also donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to state legislators who have sponsored anti-trans legislation this year. So, on the one hand, they're like, hey, we're cool with the gays. Come spend your money on us. Buy our stuff. And on the other hand, they're like, we're just going to give you money to these, some of the worst politicians on the right that are, doing things like bathroom bills and trying to prevent, trans kids from getting health care. And so, not exactly progressive there, but of course progressives corporations are not progressive. Now these same corporations, as I said, have donated this money despite their extensive support for politicians undermining LGBTQ rights. All these corporations are boasting a 100% rating on the HRC's 2020 Corporate Equality Index. They say he writes that along with workplace policies, the Corporate Equality Index purports to measure corporations' public commitment to the LGBTQ community, but HRC's methodology excludes political donations, enabling corporations to craft a pro-LGBTQ image while bankrolling politicians that are undermining their rights. Because, of course. Among the corporations highlighted in the report, CVS Health, who bankrolled politicians and who sponsored legislation in Texas banning gender-affirming medical care for children, AT&T, Comcast, who supported anti-trans legislation, sponsors in Florida and Texas, and Walmart, who has backed 121 politicians with a 0 rating from the HRC. Also on the list are United Health, Cigna, Anthem, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Deloitte, Home Depot, UPS, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Verizon, Google, Facebook, Amazon, General Motors, Ford, Johnson & Johnson, Walgreens, and McKesson. Many of these corporations, of course, will go around and they will, they'll put up these pride flags, okay, and they'll make their logos into. Hold on. They'll make their logos. Well, they'll say statements like this. How about that? CVS Health is proud to join more than 100 companies that have signed HRC's business management opposing anti-LGBTQ state legislation. We continue to use our voice to promote inclusiveness and equal treatment for all. All right. Sure. So now, only a handful of these companies had responded when asked for comment. Google said, "We have long contributed to candidates from across the political spectrum who work on technology policy, but we've always been very clear that such a contribution doesn't mean that Google agrees with that candidate on every issue. In fact, we may disagree strongly on some issues, like human rights." I mean, human rights, is that really all that important? I mean, we disagree, but we're still going to give this horrible politician money. Why is that? Well, it's because you have Republicans that basically pair this bigotry hand in hand with pro-corporate things like tax cuts and deregulation, being anti-union, being anti-minimum wage. So they have that successfully paired together. And when it comes to the priorities of corporations, of corporate America, well, it turns out money is always going to be the most important factor, because corporations, at the end of the day, they are not people. They are machines. They have no morals. Their only purpose is to generate profit at all costs. And they will, by the way, steamroll anything that gets in their way. There is no such thing as a woke corporation or woke capitalism. It's still capitalism with the pride flag. And that's it. And they will crush LGBTQIA plus people who work for them while still celebrating them. Because guess what? The PR is just really good. Hey, see, we don't discriminate. We pay everyone poorly. Cog in the machine with a rainbow flag on it is just as replaceable as any other cog in the machine. And that's it. Why don't we, get rid of the money in politics? I mean, that would be a big step. All right? Just saying. No more supposedly woke corporation, corporate funding for these anti-LGBT ghouls. No funding, no corporate funding at all. Get it all out. All right. Anyway, move on. Let's go to Lara Trump. Lara Trump wants to make sure that if you live in the South, you are ready to shoot migrants.
And I don't know what you tell the people that live at the southern border. I guess they better arm up and get guns and be ready. And maybe they're going to have to start taking matters into their own hands. It should never happen. These people should never make this dangerous journey here.
Oh, okay. Well then. Maybe they're going to have to take matters into their own hands. Wow. Yeah. Now, I love how she also feigns to actually care about them by saying, well, they shouldn't be making this dangerous journey. As if you give a damn. As if you care about the migrants, whom you just said a moment ago that people living in the South might have to shoot. There is one reason that you say arm up. Oh, you better get ready. You better arm up. For what? For what? Come on. I'd say mask off, but there's no mask here. It's out in the open. It's always been out in the open. It is disgusting, vile nastiness for everyone to see. The world can see it. right out in the open. There's no hiding there. You don't have to shine a light on it. It comes out in the sun. It's a day walker. It's what it is. She is telling people you might have to shoot migrants. There's no no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, seriously. Now, here's the thing. Asylum seekers are legal under international law. That's who the people are that are coming to the border. They're seeking asylum. You know what isn't legal, though? Murder. And yet, this seems to be a pretty good example of how the right wing encourages violence against a minority. Does there seem to be a pattern? There? You know, how they're always encouraging violence against somebody, against some ironically disaffected group, because they believe themselves to be a disaffected group. But it's not just that. It's actually worse. Not only are these people a minority, they also have nothing and are completely powerless. They have run from terrible conditions that we as a country, with our drug wars, CIA coups, policies of exploitation and destabilization, have contributed greatly to. By turning our back on the mess that our governments have made and refuse to comprehensively fix, we perpetuate this immigration crisis. It's what we do. And it gets compounded then when the current administration will capture people at the border and send them back to those conditions while telling the others, do not come. Do not come. I think that's deeply un-American. And again, that's just what the Biden administration is doing, saying do not come and sending people back. With the Trump people, it's worse. It's get your guns. We might have to shoot them. How barbaric are we as a country, as a nation, as an actor in this hemisphere? To first create this problem, and then when people run to the safe place or the safer place, we reject them. We turn our backs on them. But right now, unfortunately, is our border policy. And that's really it. Sure, it was gross under Trump, and I did many stories about that. It's still pretty bad under Biden. It needs to change. All right. I got time for one more. Mitch McConnell wants you to know that if and when he gets back into power, he plans on going back to his old tricks. Obstruction, mainly. McConnell recently told radio host Hugh Hewitt, quote, I think it's unlikely. In fact, no, I don't think either party, if it were different from the president, will confirm his Supreme Court nominee in the middle of an election. So they were asked about, okay, so right now there's talk about replacing Stephen Breyer. Okay. 83 years old, been on the bench. Liberals made a big mistake last time by not replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who died and allowed Amy Coney Barrett to be installed in her place, giving a permanent 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court, which is absolutely disastrous for voting rights, women's rights, all this different stuff. And so the hypothetical is, all right, well, what if Biden convinces Breyer to step down or something else happens and Joe Biden gets to pick a Supreme Court nominee? And you just heard, me read off McConnell's answer, which is, hell no. We're not going to let that happen. Highly unlikely. Because we're in the middle of an election. When is it not an election? When are we not in the middle of an election? Honestly, we have midterms in 2022. Campaign has already started. Elections in 2024. Campaign and raising money for these different campaigns is either happening or is about to. When are we not in election season in this country? Now, that's no excuse, by the way. The fact that we are constantly doing electioneering, no excuse to not do your job. At least what is supposed to be your job, In reality, Mitch McConnell is nothing more than a partisan hack. We know that. His job is to make sure Republicans win. And then, if they don't win, then obstruct everything until they do win. And when they inevitably do, because they have blocked everything from happening, they then, when they get into power, cut taxes for the rich, deregulate corporations, and take over the judicial system. That's what's happened. And understand that they don't care whether or not it's the middle of election when they're in power. If there's a Supreme Court vacancy, they are going to fill it. They're absolutely going to fill it. If they hadn't. Okay, so, again, they replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg really close to an election with Amy Coney Barrett. Unqualified. They set a record at how closely before a presidential election a Senate has confirmed a Supreme Court nominee. Okay, they rammed that right through. And yet they blocked Merrick Garland. I'm not a fan of Merrick Garland. I thought Merrick Garland was a terrible choice. But you cannot say that that was not a stolen seat. Anybody who's not a complete partisan hack should have seen that he at least deserved a hearing. He didn't even get that. He didn't even get that. And by the way, had Clinton won in 2016, well, they planned on blocking her too. And any nominee. So it wasn't just, up into the election. No, they had plans to block it indefinitely. Just indefinitely. Leave the court, leave that seat empty until we get back into power. That's what it is. Do you not understand that? How do you not understand this? The only thing that matters to Republicans is power. Winning. Because that's how they attain power. Whether by hook or by crook. They don't care. They don't care. Democrats, take a look at what they're doing. And I'm not saying Democratic politicians. You already know. If you haven't been paying attention, then you're stupid. All right? If you're still one of those people, those Democrats that are like, but we can reach out to the other side of the aisle. Don't worry, we can get the fever will break. We can get Republicans to vote with us because their rational mind will take over. The fever will break, and they will reach out in the spirit of bipartisanship. Fuck off. You're a goddamn moron. You're not a serious person. You're a clown. Get out of here. Dipshit. Total dipshit. Okay? No. I mean the voters. Voters. I know you don't have a lot of time. I know you're working two uniquely American jobs. Providing for your family, and our political system is a circus. I get it. But you have to understand. I read the polls. I know that most Americans want bipartisanship to happen. They do. But when possible. But you also say in many polls, I still want the Congress to actually get things done. In this current situation, you can't have either. You can only have one or the other. And bipartisanship, unfortunately, is a scam. At this point in time, it's a scam in order to advance corporate corrupt interests. It pushes the country further to the right, away from universal health care, away from the higher wages for workers, away from women's rights, LGBTQIA plus rights. It's a sham. It's a sham. You've got to stop voting for people who say, don't worry, I can reach out with the other side and get things done. Because it never happens. It's never going to happen. You know why? Because the other side fucking hates you. With your entire... And not only that, even if they don't, they have to act like it. Because right now, one half of the eligible voters in this country can't stand the other half. That's the situation. Stop voting for bipartisanship. It is not going to benefit you, Democrats. Stop trying to be the bigger people and actually think about what's best for the country. And it is not reaching out to the aisle for people who supported a literal near coup on our United States Capitol. The USS bipartisanship is at the iceberg of reality. True. We gotta let people who are smarter than us. Also true. 100%. We have only two parties. One operates. One operates in bad faith until its U.S. politics is more competitive with more parties and proportional representation where ideas actually compete. I would love to see something like that. 100%. 100%. Has to change. Has to change. You can't keep the system the way that it is. How do you change the system? Fortunately, you can only change it from what I can see from the inside. Not without a massive outside uprising. And I'd like to see that too, general strikes. I just don't know how possible it'll be. Anyway, yeah, it's frustration. I am thoroughly frustrated with the system. I am thoroughly frustrated with everything. Almost everyone, not you all. I love you all. And I thank you for allowing me to, of course, rage out. I do appreciate that. So thank you. Replace the system. Nifty and sniffable. Oh, jeez. Y'all. Yeah. No, a lot of politics. 90% of politics is doing feel-good speeches and then not doing anything about it. I hate it. I hate everything. A way to get somebody jaded is just to get them in politics. You will lose any hope for humanity. Sounds like somebody has a case of the Mondays. True. It's a I hate everything day. Also true. All right, everybody. I'm gonna go relax after I get these put up online. If you missed any part of the show, you can watch on YouTube the recording of the live stream, or you can check out the clips. Helps out. It's one of the ways that you can help us. Appreciate it. All right. We're out of here. Thank you. Love you all. And we will see you tomorrow.
Who's got a hammer?
Give me a break. Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
How you like that, boy? You idiot.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.